Hi everyone, and welcome to TDL Live, a special edition. This is the quarterly results earnings show. Apple's quarterly results, not our quarterly results. Ryan Ritchey, Adam Ford with you. Of course, in half an hour we have TDL Live. It's going to look a lot like this, but we'll stand up. So if you're watching live. By the way, you can send us questions to TDL Live via AOL Instant Messenger or iChat, and we'll get into it. We'll try not to give you too many numbers. Right. We'll try to keep it kind of vague. That's a good idea for a half-hour show.
As exciting as financials can ever be.
Okay, fair enough. So let's do it. Give us what are the key takeaways here? What do we have as our key takeaways?
The key takeaways: best June ever. Mm-hmm. Definitely a key takeaway. We're talking 2.4 million computers sold worldwide.
Okay.
We've got revenue of 7.5 billion. About basically the best quarter ever.
And compared to the year-ago quarter, we've got 58% growth year-to-year in retail, and then overall 25% growth estimated for next year. 41% year-over-year growth in CPUs, far outpacing the industry.
Yes.
And so, of course, all of this means, how did the market react?
How the market typically reacts.
But how's that, Adam?
Market is down after hours. I think last I saw it was about $17 a share. It's pretty steep. But hey, when you have the best quarter ever and you have 31% growth, you kind of have to expect your shares to fall after hours.
I think you're being sarcastic.
Just a little.
Last quarter, I was irate about this whole thing. I was upset. I was angry. I'm numb this time around. I'm numb. It just...
Because you're used to it.
I'm used to it, but it just boggles the mind. And I'll say the same thing I said 3 months ago. When you look at where this stock was a year ago, and you look at where it's valued now in after-hours trading, it's as if the iPhone didn't exist. Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I mean, to an extent.
Clear it up. I just throw it out there. It's a lot of hyperbole. You go ahead.
Right.
I'm the shock jock of business news.
I mean, it's tough. It's hard. I mean, I would challenge our viewers, because they're very, very bright and in tune with what's going on, to find me a consumer products company. Preferably technology related, although I'm pretty much open to anything.
He really is.
I really am. I'm open-minded kind of guy. That's in this economy showing this kind of growth, 31% profit growth.
Well, and not only this kind of growth, but this kind of growth compared to the industry overall. It would be one thing if HP and Dell were showing similar numbers but a little higher as far as percentage growth, but they're not in the ballpark.
No, and it's always very interesting to take a look at how this, because everything's based on the street. So how are you doing based on the street determines whether or not you go anywhere. And these analysts I've seen numbers all over the board between $1.08 a share expected and $1.41 a share expected. It's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy because Apple earned $1.19 a share this quarter, and that's it's kind of like in the middle. It's in the middle of those two. I guess a little bit towards the lower end of those estimates, but the estimates are so far, all over the place. Between 108 and 141 is completely ridiculous, and to have this kind of market reaction to that is, I think, a little bit shocking.
Let me ask you this. Do you think maybe, and when you talk about the spread there between the analyst estimates, that didn't used to be the case with Apple. There used to be a fairly close consensus when we were talking 2, 3, 4 years ago. Do you think any of this is a matter of the analysts not quite sure what to make of Apple? Because it's not a straight computer company anymore. It's not a consumer electronics company like Sony, let's say. Is there a problem with trying to figure out exactly where you put Apple?
Well, I mean, they have trouble with the idea that a business or a part of a business is considered a hobby. Because when they talked about Apple TV, they mentioned it as being, this is Apple's hobby. We're focused on our Macs, we're focused on our iPods, the iPhone. We really like the Apple TV. We think it's great, but it's a hobby for now.
Sony used to have the robotic dog.
Right, that's a hobby. That's a hobby. So I think that to an extent they don't, but we're talking about analysts who have been covering this company for a very long time. So I mean, they've seen it grow over the years and have seen Apple do some things that like have hobbies and do things like this. So part of me wants to say no, they should know exactly what's going on because they've been covering the company for so long, but I don't know. Part of me thinks that they're not exactly sure what to make of things like that,
And there are some interesting numbers that I thought were higher than I would have anticipated. For example, iPod sales year-over-year quarter, 10% growth in the U.S., 15% growth worldwide. And so, there's been concern, the iPhone is going to cannibalize iPod sales,
right,
and what's going to happen, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It's still growing. Yeah. And to see that and to know what a success the 3G iPhone has been out of the gate, I cannot, I hate to keep saying it, but I don't get it. I just cannot understand what the thinking here is. What number would the street have wanted to see to say, wow, you know what, this is actually a really good stock?
Well, I mean, if you look at the estimates, okay, so it comes in at $119 a share on $7.46 billion in revenue. They would have to generate over $1.41 per share in value to beat the street, based on the estimates that I've seen.
The high-end estimates.
The high-end estimates that I've seen, which is absurd. Absolutely absurd. I'd say the more conservative numbers were like 123-ish, and they're right around there. Granted, it's not, it's still a miss, and a miss is a miss, but then if you look at the lower end, they did just fine. They beat the estimates. So it's very confusing, and it's something that we see time and again. And moral of the story is just hang in there. I mean, you're not going to find a company that's doing this kind of stuff in this kind of economy and having success at it, having very good success at it.
Show it to us. Show us 5 stocks that are performing as well. 5 companies performing as well as Apple.
I would love to see a consumer products company. Don't send me something absolutely ridiculous like.
He doesn't want to see any bioscience stuff. Don't bring that in here.
Get out of here. But it's very funny because like the street gets very excited, like the banks and everything. Oh, they didn't lose as much as we expected them to. They're still losing money, but they're like, we didn't lose as much as we expected. Yay, rah rah. Right. They're like, we didn't earn as much as we expected in this economy. I don't know.
31%. Again, 31% revenue growth year over year for the same quarter.
Yeah.
31%.
Yeah, it's not like it was 2 or 4 or even flat. 31% growth in an unfavorable economy. Granted, they're worldwide, make products worldwide, but the majority of their products are still sold in the U.S. It's disheartening when you're a shareholder,
So let me ask you this. Should they, we have seen this happen time and time again. Should they continue to give us quarterly estimates? They don't have to. Google chooses not to do quarterly estimates. They don't put the numbers out there to begin with. Would Apple be better off just letting the street just kind of run around, with their heads chopped off? This is what's going on. We don't know.
If it was a different time, I would say yes. I think with the instability of the market right now, doing that would be, everybody would be like, what are they hiding? What are they hiding? And there were questions that came up about.
We'll get to that.
Okay. I'm not allowed right now.
No, we're getting there. First I have to say, speaking of hiding things, so now we can do it.
Okay.
The question did come up again about Steve Jobs' health.
Yes.
And this was raised again today in the New York Post. Not normally where I would get my business information, but they brought it up. And I laid it out in a blog entry earlier today. And so the concern is about Steve Jobs' health. It was raised on the call, and I think that's perfectly valid. And the question is, what's the deal? What's the statement? What's Apple's stance?
Yeah.
And Apple's response was,
we're not going to comment on Steve's health.
it's private.
It's private. Which is true.
He's currently the CEO. He's there. It's private.
Yeah, he serves at the discretion of the board and everything else.
Right.
And it's true. It is true. But he's there to drive shareholder value.
And he does more so than any other company.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why it's all the more. The question's all the more relevant.
Right.
Part of me is like, don't ask that question. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely none of your business. But considering the drive, he's so iconic and does have, everything he touches turns to gold sort of take from the street and everything.
Sure.
I don't know how you don't ask it. Somebody had to ask it.
And especially given that the reports have come out that it's fairly widely accepted at this point that the last time he had a health issue was kind of kept quiet under the rug for 8 or 9 months. And that was a situation where it was either he had a cancer that was going to kill him, or by some miracle he had the type that could be treated.
Right.
So, he is so closely tied to this company.
Yep.
And if you're not going to at least give us a health update, at least start to give us information that everyday investors can say, you know what, he is very important to the company, but if he wasn't there tomorrow, this company could go on.
Yep.
And you just don't see that information. You don't know, and I understand for competitive reasons why this is the case, but you don't know who are the masterminds behind the iPhone. Who are the key engineers that do need to stay at Apple for Apple to be successful going forward. And there's none of that. There's no succession plan. But I think
that we know of.
That's made available to shareholders. But frankly, when they said that on the call, it's private, and there's kind of this awkward silence. I think that's as much as they know. I think it's really Steve has probably laid down the law on this and said, or not commented at all. Yeah. I don't think that, at this point, Apple as a company is necessarily hiding anything. I just think that maybe he just isn't disclosing everything, or feels he doesn't need to, or it's none of their business.
Right. And to an extent, I agree. And to an extent, I definitely agree. I think that Steve will know when it's time for, if there is anything going on. Who knows?
Right.
I mean, we don't want to mislead anybody. We don't have any information that pretty much about anything about Steve.
Right.
So I think if there's something that needs to be known, he will make it known on his terms, and that's the way it'll be.
And we don't, as you said, we don't know that anything's coming. That being said, though, in the past there have been declarations of clean bill of health. After the surgery and everything, hey, he's back, he's going to take some time off, he's back, everything's fine.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
We'll see.
But
we do hope he's well.
And it's not like, I don't even know who's running HP these days. But it's not like when Carly was there, nobody cared. Oh, she seemed a little thin last week. What's going on? Because it didn't matter, honestly. The company could go on. And he's so tightly associated with this company. I don't know. I think it is legitimate for there to be a higher expectation of disclosure there. So
yeah.
So be it. All right, let's move on. So some other interesting numbers for the Best Buy store counters out there. Now at 570 Best Buy stores with Apple. And Peter mentioned, Peter Oppenheimer, that they'd like to get to 600 by the end of the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty aggressive. I think that we were at a fraction of that just a quarter ago. So I think that they're being pretty aggressive with that. And I think they've seen some success. I know that all the stores that I've been to in the area have had the little walls.
The little walls with the Apple logo that covers the rest of the HP and Dell products that are behind, HP and Compaq behind the wall.
Exactly.
Very good. And I've been there once when there was actually the rep there.
Oh yeah, me too.
I've been there before when they weren't there.
He was playing something on one of the iMacs sitting there. So.
Perhaps an iPhone game, which we'll get to in TDL Live coming up a little bit later.
Very good.
So let us know what you think of the numbers. Send us an iChat or AOL Instant Message to TDL Live. I mean, I think we have earnings fatigue. It's like you can't even get up in arms anymore that you come out, you have this huge profit, your guidance is conservative, but still for growth for the next quarter.
Yeah.
And yet, it doesn't matter. It's not enough, and it actually goes the other direction.
Yeah, and you know, you kind of wonder whether or not Apple's sometimes too conservative in their outlook. They've, you know, tons of criticism from the street for that, but also they take it for what it's worth. You know, they know that Apple's going to be conservative.
Right.
They're probably going to continue to be conservative, and that's just the way it's going to be.
It's nothing new.
No, but I mean, you kind of wonder if them being conservative paints them into this situation where, you know, the street overestimates what their earnings should actually be, you know, based on their conservative outlook, and that's how you get to 141 a share, which is absurd. And I'm no analyst, but it's just absurd. So, yeah, I wonder. Part of me wonders if that's somehow problematic.
And I don't even know how you get out of that.
I don't know.
Because now if you guide high and people are used to you being conservative and you barely make the numbers, they're still going to say, well, it went wrong. You always are this high above what you tell us you're going to make. What's going on? So
they almost have to be like, we're changing everything we do. And
we were kidding all those other years. 25% growth estimated for this quarter.
Yep.
And just a quick accounting note, because of the iTunes software 2.0 release, so the revenue recognized from, I believe, March 6th on in last quarter for iPhones has not been put into the accounting yet, and that will hit in the next quarter, which they said is about $419 million. So, again,
nice little kick in the pants.
We're talking 31% profit year over year on a quarter that, for all intents and purposes, didn't include the iPhone.
Right. Right.
And people are buying this from what I hear, people are buying this iPhone thing.
Maybe some
this
reports
newfangled
on
iPhone.
the blog about that. But it's interesting. I mean, the breakdown continues on CPUs between desktops and portables. 62% of the 2.4 million units sold were portables, so that continues to be their strongest Mac segment, and probably will continue to be so. And
there was a lot more talk or reference this time than usual in this quarterly call to product transition coming this quarter.
Yeah.
Now normally it's like, well, we expect some product transitions. You know, you think, oh, well, maybe it's a processor upgrade or something. But they kind of went out of their way to mention this multiple times. And of course, this is going to stoke the rumors of, well, is it a tablet? Well, no, that's a new product.
Right. Right.
We're in the back to school quarter right now, so I don't know how much they want to change on the laptops going in with the back to school promotion and everything. Maybe they're talking more about the touch. It seems like the touch would be set for some sort of refresh now compared to the iPhone prices.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think the back to school is a nice opportunity to liquidate some of your channel. You know, you're not really offering a discount, but you're offering a promotion of some kind, and that's bound to, you know, spur sales. And you know, students are going to school. They're getting new gear. They're gearing up, as they say.
Is that what they say?
They're getting hip with it.
Your ear's close to the.
They're getting hip with it.
The hip with it. They are gearing up.
So it's a nice opportunity to liquidate some of your channel. And I think that we're going to see some refreshes of some kind in the not too distant future.
We keep talking about year over year. It should be noted that this quarter for total revenue was down slightly from the previous quarter. You had $7.4 billion this quarter versus $7.5 last quarter. Again, though, bear in mind that does not count the iPhones. If you put that $419 million in for missed iPhone sales, then it's a quarter to quarter increase as well as year to year.
Best June quarter ever.
Right, best June quarter ever.
June quarter.
Which I believe is following the best
quarter ever. And we were down. Stock was down on that too. So y'all just strap in. It's gonna be wild. We'll get through it though. We will get through it. Stay strong.
I say stop. Stop with the quarterly.
I say buy.
Oh, easy. Adam Ford is not a licensed stockbroker and cannot offer stock advice.
I can't sell you anything. But if you're buying,
read the prospectus.
Buy.
If you're buying, buy.
That's right.
I'm sensing a T-shirt for the store. If you're buying, buy, he says. So let's take a look, see if there are any other important numbers we missed here.
I don't know.
$1.19 earnings per share. We've talked about that. That's the big number.
Yep.
We talked about the fact that the iPod numbers, that's a bit of a surprise. 58% growth year over year in retail. Now, granted, there are a lot more stores.
There are.
But I don't think there's 58% more stores.
I don't think that there are either.
There were also some questions regarding the new store in China, which just opened, and of course it's been open, 3 days, I think, so they really couldn't offer any additional guidance on that. At the beginning of the call, Peter Oppenheimer was very key to point out that they're thrilled with the iPhone 3G and the launch, and of course we'll talk a little bit more. And one of the analysts said, well, it seems like you sold them all. Why didn't you wait? Why didn't you make more and wait a couple weeks?
Right.
New to the Apple game,
He must be. He must be. Don't wait for nobody. Don't wait for nobody.
Is he when he's
You'll wait in our line, buddy, not the other way around.
When he's in the Nintendo call, does he say, why didn't you wait 3 years? Then you'd have enough Wiis for everybody. I mean, come on. When you have the product ready and you have a launch date, you get them out there.
Sucker.
And if more people buy it than you anticipate,
perfect. Great problem to have.
I don't think that that's a problem.
Great problem to have.
So
yeah, they're carrying cost of inventories down. So
sorry. What is that?
So they're not holding on to inventory. They're not storing it. Storing inventory costs money.
Well,
so it's in and out, and they're
right. And right before we went on air, we discussed that because Apple has kind of been held in high regard for the inventory management and the fact that you have such a razor-thin amount of inventory on hand,
right.
And yet now when something like this comes out, well, why didn't you have more? You should have had 3 months built up in warehousing.
They just don't have that kind of, they have a couple weeks of inventory, and that's it. That's how they play it, and that's how they should play it. It's responsible,
Long term, that's going to be best.
Right. I don't think that people are going to not buy an iPhone because they can't get one on Tuesday.
And the media made a big deal out of the initial hiccups with the launch. As I understand it, most of those hiccups are now gone as far as activation and everything. And while that makes for a sensationalized headline, frankly, and Apple knows this, and this is where sometimes Apple gets arrogant, long term it doesn't matter.
It means absolutely nothing.
It doesn't matter.
People will remember this next year, and they will get in line anyway.
That's true. There'll be stories. Hey, will it be any better? You mean for the 4G iPhone? Is that what you're... Are you going on record as saying?
Let's not spit rumors.
No, we can. That's what we do. That's what we do in the next show. By the way, for those of you who are maybe watching for the first time, this is our Apple quarterly earnings results show. We do this once
It's like every couple months or so.
I think it's every 3 months.
Is it
now
3?
To say that. Yep.
Okay.
It's the quarterly earnings show. It just happens to fall on a Monday night, which also happens to be TDL Live.
Convenient. They planned that for us. They were like, we're going to do this on a Monday. Just get it all in there.
Peter Oppenheimer. We golf. Let's be honest. So at 9 o'clock tonight, it's TDL Live. It's the two of us. Imagine this, but we're standing, and there's a fishbowl of news, and we'll be talking about all the news and rumors in the Apple world. If it quacks like a fish.
What?
No. So I'd like to do an impression now, if I could.
Okay.
This is me on the Apple stock. Ah!
Well, we should fire up the little roller coaster
on the iChat. Put the. I mean, we keep saying hang in there, but every quarter it happens again. It takes this dip.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, analysts are still estimating in the 200s. That I haven't seen any account for that to go down after this earnings release. I believe that Piper Jaffray's at 250 recently, just up their prediction. I mean, what's everybody freaked out about? I hope you don't sell. I hope you're not selling. You're in a panic.
But at what quarter though do they expect it to suddenly magically jump to 250?
I think it's by New Year.
Okay, that's 2 quarters.
Yeah.
So you don't see. Here's the only thing that worries me a little bit. Going back to Steve's health thing for a moment. I don't want to make. I know I don't want to make too big of a deal out of it, but I'm going to right now. Do you think there's any chance we could be dealing not just with some nervous investors here, but maybe some folks who maybe know what's going on? Because if Steve left, that's a $17 drop, at least, on the stock.
Yeah, I think you're reading a little too much into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me flip that around then. And again, TDL Live, who, it's a shame we can't zoom in a little bit, who is selling this stock? If you sold your Apple stock today at $149, we'd like to hear from you. What do you think's going on? I mean, it has to be large industry trades, right? This isn't John Q. Apple owner saying, oh, I better dump my one share.
No, I can't imagine. No, we'll find out in the morning. We'll have to see what volume's like.
This might just be aftermarket jitters, too.
Could be.
We haven't seen it yet in the open market.
Gotta see how it opens.
Okay.
See how it is.
When we come back to go into TDL Live, we'll have far better spirits. It just crushes us when we see this happen to the stock. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So there you go. You don't get that on CNBC. When do they ever just say it doesn't make any sense whatsoever? We tell it like it is.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're going to go into TDL Live in just a moment. Thank you very much for watching. I just want to find one clip here because, look, the fishbowl isn't going to jump up here on its own. So we're going to take care of that, and we will be right back with more and TDL Live. And keep that iChat open because you can still, of course, chat with us as well. We'll be back in just a minute, everybody.
See you soon.